What do you think of AI? I interviewed a man called Mo Godat. He worked with Google. He says AI is going to be 1 billion times smarter than any human on the planet within the next 5 to 10 years.
I agree. I don't think we understand what is happening. I don't understand. You can process one thought, maybe 2 thoughts at once. Dude, this thing is running in processing everything at the same time. You're going to see the emergence of people that worship these AIs. You're going to see people marry the AIs. You're going to see people fuse with the AIs. It's going to be pretty crazy. So you're going to see the battle of the chipped versus the unchipped take place, which is going to be taking place. I mean, if Neuralink actually works and you actually have the ability to instill learning behavior patterns and you can accelerate learning, you can basically turn somebody into a supercomputer, they'll outcompete anybody in the marketplace. So you might be forced into it, right? Because if not, you're going to be jobless. So what are you going to do? It's a crazy situation that we're in. I don't see that kind of in our necessary future, but it might be for our kids or the generations to come. But once again, technology is advancing so quick, we don't really comprehend it. It's fast. It's fast.
They're trying to microchip the brain now as well. So this is what they say. They get out first, get the mobile phones. People queue for 2 nights, 3 nights to get the new iPhone. So as soon as they bring the new chip out, microchip, people getting chipped in Sweden. So people are getting microchipped now. Now you've got metaverse. People are getting into there's different levels of this universe. I believe in my own perspective, because I've interviewed enough people to try and get an understanding of it. And basically when you break it all down, nobody actually knows what the fuck is going on. We're just speaking from the knowledge that we gather through books, documentaries, other people we come across. But when you actually break it all down, what is the true source? What do you think the true source is for a human being?
Intuition. I think your ability to perceive how the things around you are working. You're not going to know everything, right? And also you're not necessarily going to place your belief system into what somebody else has told you. You have to experience it for yourself. So it has to do with experience. It has to do with going through the process of learning truth, because people are like, oh, like, what do you believe in? Well, if you believe in something, it means that you have no certainty of it. But you need to know things. There's a verse in the Bible that says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Not you shall believe in some white man with a beard, in heaven that will, no, it says you shall know the truth. So the question is, how do you know the truth? Well, you need to be paying attention. You need to be aware. You need to be observant. You need to have open ears. You need to have humility. People act like, and they walk around like they know shit, like that they have the answers. Well, if you have the answers, then truth will never reveal itself to you. So very much walking with humility and like a student. I think that that's the biggest learning place. The biggest learning place to seek for truth is when you position yourself and being like, hey, I don't know anything. Let the universe reveal itself to me. And it does. And these mysteries, some people like to give it names and characteristics and attributes, but once again, we all experience it differently.
What do you think humans are? What do you think we are?
I think we're experiencing this like 3-dimensional realm, but our consciousness will potentially be more expanded outside of our physical limitations once we die.
What about the creator? Do you think someone created us?
Absolutely. 100%. Intelligent design makes absolute sense.
Could we be machines? Could we be avatars? Could we already be robotic?
I mean, robotic.
Because you look at the way the central nervous system is, how the brain functions, how the organs function. Something's created that. And if you go back thousands of years of with some of the tombs and pyramids, some people say they were created by lasers.
There's definitely design. There's definitely design attributed to it. And it's interesting you say that, because, for example, when we talk about like civilizations that have been wiped out, this is obvious. Civilizations have been wiped out. I just spent a month in Italy looking at the ruins of Pompeii. They say 80% of Pompeii is still under the ashes. So like all these things about history that we have no idea about, no context whatsoever. People are like, oh yeah, well, why is it that we don't have remnants of plastic from back in the day? I was like, well, maybe they were just so intelligent and so intellectually superior that they realized that plastic wasn't something that they should utilize. Like plastic is something that's fucking us up. So I think that right now we are in a phase of rediscovering humanity. I think we're potentially in the dark ages still of knowledge, of how we operate and what our fullest capabilities and human potential is. if you were born, let's say you were in your people, right, were born into slavery for another nation, and you were in a 600 or 700 year slavery period. Let's say you're born in year 300 of slavery. You're born into that. You have no context of freedom. You don't understand it. It's not been taught to you. You haven't been nurtured under it. It's not in your peripherals. You don't understand it. You may crave it, but you don't understand it because you were born a slave. We were born slaves. Look at the school system. Look at the music. Look at the food. Look at the propaganda. Look at the television. They're all tools of slavery, mass slavery. So when you look at all these things and you align it, you're like, whoa, hold a minute. Are they telling me that I'm free, but I'm not? Right? Are they telling me that I have free will, that I can act and choose what I want, but I'm persuaded by all these things around me that create a false identity? We were talking about everything's an illusion. You're sold that this is valuable. You're sold that this is valuable. You're sold that things are real. Right? These are beliefs. So what if we've been born into this belief system that we're free, but you look at the byproduct of our existence and we're at 10% capacity of our potential, which means what? Which means it's not that the energy isn't being expended, it's that the energy is going into somebody else's pocket, because we look at money different than rich people look at money. Rich people don't look at money like monetary units. Rich people look at money like energy, because you take that money and you pay somebody for what? Their time and their labor. That labor is energy. Everything is quantified in energy units. So rich people understand that. So they'll give you fake imaginary paper in exchange for what? Your lifespan. That's the game. So if you print the money, you get infinite lifespan that you can play with. That's why you can fund infinite wars. That's why you can fund infinite construction. That's why you can fund infinite slavery, because you can pay people. That's why we're basically debt slaves. So the entire premise of where we currently stand in society is that we need to wake up as a collective consciousness that you aren't what people have told you that you are. You don't need to work a 9 to 5 in order to be validated. You don't need to work for a big company. Yes, making a ton of money is great, but dude, you can make $5,000 a month and live with total freedom. I was happy when I was making $10,000 a month, dude. I had less responsibilities, less problems than I fucking do now. But I've been limited and you can't make $10,000 a month. No, well, you need a college degree. Oh, well, you need to do this. These are all limitations, slave belief systems that have been cast upon us on how we're supposed to operate. And once you break free from that illusion, you begin to realize that you can live life on your own terms.
But it's trying to break free. And like I say, happiness is a mindset. And no matter if it's $10,000 a month, $10 a month, because people can be happy with anything.
Yes.
And you see the kids in Africa or whatever, and they've not got much, and they get a new ball, and they're the happiest kids in the world. Kids here, Western society, they've got everything, but yet they complain the most. So everything, like you say, is slavery. I'm a slave to it. I understand the patterns, but yet I'll still buy the nice watches, the nice cars, the nice house, because it still strokes the ego. But as the more I get, the more I know that's not where I find my true purpose or the source of true happiness. I genuinely get my happiness seeing my kids happy and other people around me happy. It's just the way my mind is. I'm never happy all the time. I'll get short bursts of 20 seconds. That was good. And then I'm straight into thinking something else. I'm trying to quieten the mind. I've tried meditation. I've tried fucking running. I've tried it all. My job is just to stay busy. That's all I can learn. I'm 40 years old, so I figured the patterns that works for me, what kind of, like I say, I understand the technology, but I'm still addicted to my phone. I'm still addicted to making money, even though I know money's a fucking illusion. And the value we give money here for a paper, a currency that it doesn't even have any meaning, it doesn't have any value. We give it the value here. And that's where people need to try and waken up, because it doesn't matter, even though 95s are just as important as well. Because sometimes I look at people and I think, have they cracked the code? Because they're doing their thing, they know when to stop, they know when to start. For me, as an entrepreneur, I can't switch off. I'll go on holiday and I fucking work harder than I do when I'm actually supposed to be working. So it's a constant. Dana White says it as well. You're working Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So it's consistent. And like I say, if you're working a 9 to 5 as well, as long as you're providing for your family, for me, you're winning. It's just trying to find that balance of trying to enjoy life as well. And sometimes I think we can get caught up in the fake illusion of life, because social media portrays everyone as having a great life. But when you actually break it all down, nobody's fucking that happy. I've never met someone who's connected, and I think, bang, you've got it sorted out, where they live off the land and grow their own crops and fresh water, and their kids are free in the fucking farm, and they've got their own animals. That's the way I see a good life. Back in the day, the Native Americans, and they kind of seemed to me had it sussed with the way they grew the way they were connected to the animals and their love. But now I just see all destruction, pain, misery. I don't know if that then is going to be a massive awakening. I think lockdown was a massive awakening to people. Bear in mind there was over 13 billion vaccines put out. The UK was over 93% with the vaccine. Everybody got it. Thankfully I didn't get it. I was against that. I questioned it. Like I said to people, I'm not a scientist or a fucking doctor, but a good intuition to understand something at a 99.9% survival rate, but you're willing to put that in my body, and yet if I don't, I can't travel, I can't work, I'm ridiculed, I'm shamed. And I thought, you know what, fuck it. And thankfully now I stuck my guns, and I think people now are waking up. But if there's another lockdown in 5 years, which potentially could be, it still scares me how fast the world can be shut down, and nobody questions it enough because they're believing what the media say, the politicians say. The politicians were locking people up. People weren't seeing loved ones. They were missing the births of their kids. People weren't getting the right treatments, and they were all partying at Christmas in fucking Downing Street, basically laughing at everyone, and yet people don't say anything. I'm surprised the streets aren't packed with protesters demanding fucking change.
Because they're slaves. You need. That's what you need to understand. They're too busy to care. They can't care. They have debts. They have dictated their kids to school. They have their 9 to 5. They come back home. They're exhausted. They know that the world's fucked. They're in this loop. This is where success comes in. It's breaking the current patterns of behavior, because the current patterns of behavior that you have, because you realize that shit's fucked up. Like nobody's stupid. People see it and they're like, yo, this shit's fucked. Okay, but what can I do about it? Well, nothing. Because you look at your calendar and you're like, dude, I'm fucking busy. Dude, when I was cleaning toilets, pressure washing basketball, I was busy. I could still be there, doing the same thing, being in that same loop, but upon a new awakening and a new thought, truth acts upon what? Action. So when the world or the universe gives you an insight, like look at what happened in COVID, and it gives you an insight. If you don't act on that insight, truth stops revealing itself to you because you're not being obedient, you're not listening. So when it tells you, hey, wake up, look at what's taking place. You need to make more money. You need more passports. You need to be able to be financially free. You need to ensure that they don't just jab you and put anything into your body. When you start realizing these things, you need to act. So what does it take to act? You need to be able to set time aside and break out of the current behavioral patterns and create new behavioral patterns towards an elevated lifestyle. And the elevated lifestyle doesn't mean having more things. But even people that have nothing, they still have things to work on. In fact, they have more to work on than most people. But just saying, oh, I'm happy is not enough an alibi, because even if you're motherfucking happy, when shit hits the fan, you still got business to take care of. So your happiness isn't going to make sure that when AI is introduced and input on fucking digital ID vaccine passports, that your happiness is going to get you out of motherfucking trouble, because it's not. So you still have to prepare, because that's the world that we live in. We've just been bought into the system that everything's okay, that there's no war upon us, that nobody's trying to take our freedom, that nobody's trying to fuck us up. But you could just look at throughout all of history, how many countries have been sieged because they shut down their water, fucked up their water supply, or how many countries have been taken over because they infiltrated through the food system. Tons. Look what's taking place in America, dude. Everybody's fucking fat. You don't think that that's on purpose? It's 100% on purpose. You're killing one of the only places and beacons of freedom left in the world constitutionally. Of course, everybody's attacking it. So the entire premise is, yes, right? Be content with what you have. 100%. Be grateful. If you can put food on the table, you're good. You got your basic necessities covered. You know what now? Somebody wants your fucking freedom. You don't like the truth? That's the truth. What do you think? Biden has your best interest in mind? Come on, bro. Like, it's fucking, he's there stealing. Like, that's the name of the game. Like, you don't understand politics? You're a fucking clown. You think these people work for free? For free? No, people don't work that way. So once you understand that they don't have your best interest in mind, you have to seek out your own best interest. You have to protect yourself, take care of yourself. That means you have to become better. You have to become better. And what we talk about is becoming better. right? And people don't like that because becoming better requires what? Accountability and responsibility.